Hello, everyone. My name is Professor Christian Millichap, and I'm an associate professor at uh, Furman University in Greenville, South Carolina. And this is a talk for the Nearly Carbon Neutral Geometric Topology Conference, specifically in the Teaching Undergraduate Topology section. And my pair of talks will come under the title Interdisciplinary Topology at a Liberal Arts College. So I want to start by just giving a little bit of idea of my academic background before I talk about what type of topology courses I taught, what is the curriculum like at Furman, how does topology course fit into our curriculum, who are our majors like, what are our majors like, and that whole deal. So I'm currently at Furman University. I'm an associate professor of mathematics. I've been here, this is my fifth year. Um, and before that, I was at Linfield College in McMinnville, Oregon for 3 years. Both Linfield and Furman are small liberal arts colleges. Linfield is about 1,500, Furman's about 2,500. And before that, I was in graduate school at Temple University. I received my PhD in 2015 working under Dave Footer. And before that, I was a undergraduate at Dickinson College, which is a small liberal arts college in central PA. So went to a small undergraduate school, wanted to end up working at a small undergraduate school in the long run, which I've been able to do. So before I head into my talks about topology, if any of you are grad students or postdocs thinking about a liberal arts or a more teaching focused route, welcome to reach out to me if you want some background on what the job's like or what are some things to deal with on the job market. So, all right. So my experience is teaching topology. The first time I taught topology was in Linfield in the fall of 2017. It was a class of about 6 students. I think linear algebra was the main background requirement. I don't think some of the students had analysis. And this was an elective course for the major. Students were required to take it. And at the time I had used Adams and Franzosa, Introduction to Topology, P-word implied. I am going to come back to this book a bunch, but I figured I'd mention that there. So I did teach a course back in 2017. Since then, once I moved to Furman, there was a topology course on the books, but from what I gathered, it had either never been taught or hadn't been taught in over 25 years, which was something I really wanted to change since a large number of folks in my department have some topology related background. And it's something I'm very enthusiastic and excited about. But my first opportunity at Furman to do anything with topology was I actually had a student in spring 2022 do a tutorial on topology because we didn't have a course that was running at the time. And this was a student that wanted to go to graduate school. So we did this as an independent study tutorial. And again, we were using Adams Franzosa. And we were covering a lot of the essentials of point set topology and then a little bit beyond there, a little bit to classification of surfaces and some topological graph theory. But again, that was working with one student looking to go to graduate school for a theoretical math PhD. So moved at a little bit different rate than some of our other classes. Beyond that, I was able to convince my department to let me teach a topology elective at Furman in the fall of 2020. And I'll talk a little bit more at our curriculum. At the time, it was just purely an elective. It was not a requirement for our major. I had 7 students. The background was really, requirements were really an intro to proofs class and a linear algebra class. And I decided to change things up a bit. I ended up using Topology Now by Messer and Stratton. And the part of the reason I did this was came to my interest and the student interest for that class. I had some students that had some exposure to knot theory from a linear algebra class I taught and were very excited about that. And another student that was a applied math and physics major, really interested in astrophysics. She's in an astrophysics PhD program now. So the shape of the universe idea was something that very much excited her. So I decided to try a more combinatorial topology, knot theory, classification of surfaces, introduction to 3 manifolds route, which this book was heading for. I also used a little bit beyond this book to introduce braid groups and talk about those. I thought there was lots of great value in that experience. The one thing I'll say about this book, as much as I love the topics, a lot of things are a bit more brushed under the rug um, than some of your other math topology books I've used. But I also realize it's a challenge getting to some of the interesting topics without doing it. Beyond that, beyond that, so that's the last time I taught a topology course, fall 2020. We should be running a topology course next academic year, 2023, 2024, which I might be teaching. But let me give you, so now I give you a little bit of insight into what I've taught for topology. And I want to talk about Furman specifically, where I'm at. So what is Furman like? What is our math curriculum like? How does a topology class fit into that curriculum? And how am I thinking about designing a topology course given these factors? So let me share my screen a bit. So, all right, Furman's webpage. So Furman, again, it's a small liberal arts school. We're about 2,500 students. A lot of students double major. A lot of students have interdisciplinary interests. A lot of students study abroad. So that does mean we have some restrictions on how big our majors can be, right? If we have a lot of students that are double majoring, and there's a lot of what we call GER, general education requirements. So a not too exciting page that I bring up now is like, this is just an overview of the degree checklist for what students have to do. They have to do a first year writing seminar. They have to do a writing research class. They have to have classes that hit on these particular traits, empirical study of human behavior, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot built into the curriculum at Furman that goes beyond just your major. As a result, majors can have at most 11 classes. We have 11 classes for our math majors because there's a lot of background to build up to get to somewhere in a major. But that does mean we have to carefully think about what classes go into our major and also allow some flexibility to connect across disciplines too. A lot of these students are double majoring in a science or an economics and math, and sometimes something areas from the arts and humanities too. So going from there, we've got lots of things to share. What do our majors look like? We actually have 3 math majors at Furman. We have a regular math major. So this is what it looks like. You can pause and look at our chart diagram to decipher things. It's not too bad, but there are 11 courses. But you've got to take the core calculus, intro to proofs, typewriting, transition to higher maths is what we call it, intro linear algebra class, vectors and matrices, and then there's a little bit of freedom there. And I will note this is the major we've revamped starting in 2021. And as part of this, students have to take what I call certain upper level proofwriting experiences. They have to do an upper level algebra course. They also have to do, so that would be the linear algebra and matrix theory, and then the group theory. They have to do one of those, at least one of those. And they have to do an upper level analysis or topology experience. This is new. In the past, topology had only been an elective that was offered once. We're now introducing that to be something that runs every 2 years as an upper level theoretical proof writing experience in the same bucket, putting analysis and topology in a similar bucket there. So this is something that will start probably having more students run more frequently and students will take more often. But yeah, that's our math major. We also have an applied math major, which you can see has more applied requirements in the worlds of programming, modeling, and theory. But students do have to take one upper level theory course, which could be topology. And again, this was revamped in the last year. So this is, again, a course that'll start running more frequently and probably have more students as a result too. Though we are going to have pure math, theoretical math students and applied math students in that class. So it will be, while they'll all be math majors, most likely, there will be a little bit of a mixed bag of interests. We also have a math econ major. The topology course doesn't fit into that. Half the classes are econ. I'm not going to talk about that. So, but I just figured I'd mention that. But it does mean we have students with a variety of backgrounds in our majors. Um, Another big part of our curriculum is we have a data analytics minor. This just popped up. We just started this in the last year or two. It is the most popular minor on campus, but it has some core programming classes and then some elective specific to what major you're interested in that could apply to there. But the math courses are all very much modeling, probability, and statistics based courses. So where does that take us? That tells us, what does that tell me? Well, we're heading in a new direction by having topology be a part of our major. But the students I'm going to have in that class, they're not going to have a ton of math background necessarily. They're going to have linear algebra, interlinear algebra, and intro to proofs. Some of them will be theoretical math majors interested in theoretical math, but some of them are also going to be applied math majors with some different interests too. Beyond that, I'd also say that we probably only have one, maybe two students a year looking to go to graduate school in theoretical math, which is fine. A lot of our students have interests in statistics, applied math, business analytics, looking to head into the workforce right away, or a lot of them get a master's degree and then in statistics, business, or some of these same things I said, operations research, which is fine, but it does mean when I'm thinking about a topology course, I do want it to hit on proofwriting, digesting abstract definitions, but I am also thinking about who's my audience and how can I connect this to some things that they're gonna find interesting and interdisciplinary and value beyond just the proofwriting skills, which are certainly important. But to give you a little bit more of a flavor of who our majors are, we've created these math major maps. I have the math one and the applied math one as tools to share with students about to see like what are our majors about, but also what are our graduates doing. And I mean, there's a little bit of data here, but this is giving some context about our institution. So these were our math majors over the last 5 years or so. Yes, a chunk of them go to graduate school, but again, largely master's degree programs or fields of study that are more interdisciplinary and applied. Could see some of what our alumni are doing, but this again highlights to me, right, the interdisciplinary nature of our students and how, as we all know, we can connect math to anything. But these are things I have in mind when I'm thinking about designing some of our courses. So this highlights their pathways through classes here. And we have ones for our applied math major too, where there's some overlap. But again, we have a lot of students initially going to graduate school, but usually for master's programs, not in pure math too. Okay. So that brings me to actually talking about topology. So what do I plan to do with a topology class? Well, first off, because it is a theoretical, it's in our curriculum as a theoretical upper level proof-based experience. It is definitely gonna be proof-based math. It's definitely tackling abstract definitions. And since we're putting it in a bucket with real analysis, so some students might only take one of those, I'm definitely gonna take a point set topology approach, where you do see some similar proof ideas from real analysis. However, I do want to try to get to what are some ways to make this interdisciplinary and have topics that are going to help you make connections from very abstract ideas like connectivity, closure boundary, open sets. And I have found this textbook to be a great source for doing that. So let me share a little bit again of what's in this textbook. So I'm just bringing, this is the MA page for Introduction to Topology, Pure and Applied, but I figured I'd bring this up so I can show the table of contents. So notice you do have your traditional point set topology topics, right? You have the topological spaces, bases, closed sets, interior closure boundary, creating subspace topologies, looking at subspace topologies, product topologies, quotient spaces. In my mind, traditional point set topology, when I had it as an undergraduate, when I've taught, really a lot of the material from chapters 1 through 7 were the core theoretical underpinnings of point set topology. I don't think I've taught, or really when I had the classes undergrad did the metric space chapter or topic. But right, the introductory stuff, different types of topological spaces, continuity and homeomorphisms, connected and compactness, and some properties of those. So this book does have those core topics, but you might notice there's a lot of extra chapters, but a lot of them are connecting to other areas of mathematics or other fields of study, right? We see, if we come over to the fixed point theory and applications, we definitely have connections to game theory, right? Game theory, Nash equilibria. Digital topology and digital imaging processing. That is definitely an interdisciplinary topic. Knot theory, which I love, is a great topic to have and has connections to chemistry and biochemistry. If you want to hit on the shape of space ideas and also the classification surfaces in the last chapter, obviously this is way more material than at least I could fit in a undergraduate topology course. So that means I do have to be careful thinking about how do I hit on the core aspects of point set topology, but also give students opportunities to see applications sprinkled in. So I'll hit on this more in my second video, but a big part of this is, hey, I do try to grab some of these application sections. The geographic information systems one is one I love, and I'll definitely talk about in my second video. And a lot of them are things where I can just spend a day or two and hit on some of these applications as we're going through these chapters to make connections across disciplines and reinforce, this army of abstract definitions, or at least that's what it feels like to the students that we're playing around with. I also have a project component, and I've done that in both topology courses I've taught, and I plan to do that the next time I teach it. So rather than have a final exam, have a project where students grab onto an interdisciplinary topic of interest, either connecting to other areas of math or something in the sciences or economics. And these later chapters serve as a great jumping off point for a lot of those. So with that in mind, I think that's about all I will say. The one thing I'll mention is part of the reason I went into using this book is I did go to a JMM workshop run by Colin Adams and Bob Franzosa, where they shared ideas and resources for how can you inject some of these interdisciplinary topics throughout a point set topology course. So I will definitely draw on from what I learned and was shared with me at that workshop. But thank you all for listening, and I hope you check out my second video too, where we're actually look at some of these, I guess, worksheets that I go through as students for some of the interdisciplinary topics and how my projects are set up. Thank you for listening.